All right, let me tell you about some bullshit. Jehovah's Witnesses practice mandated religious shunning, but they're going to lecture you on how to improve your family relationships. All right, in an article featured on their website, their feature article for July, A World in Turmoil, How You Can Cope. They try to drive home the importance of the family bond, strengthening your marriage, maintaining close friendships. But what they conveniently fail to mention is the countless relationships they've destroyed through their shunning policy, pressuring Jehovah's Witnesses to avoid anyone who criticizes the organization, including family members, swiftly cutting them out of their lives, as you would carve out a tumor. Most of you know this, some of you don't. I haven't heard my parents' voice since 2017. I'm not the only one. I'm a drop in the bucket. Maybe you're not a Jehovah's Witness and you just want to know the inner workings, the inside culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So in this video, I'm going to explain why this article is a huge lie, a huge slap in the face to shunning victims over the years, okay, and how the Jehovah's Witnesses are actually notorious for ruining family relationships. All right, so looking at the article here, it says, A World in Turmoil, Protect Your Relationships. Got this cozy couple. As anxiety over world turmoil increases, many people unwittingly allow their relationships to suffer. People isolate themselves from their friends. Spouses become increasingly contentious with each other. Parents pay little or no attention to the anxieties of their children. Right? Friendships are essential to your health and stability, especially during difficult times. The stress that results from world turmoil can test your family life in unexpected ways. Disturbing news reports may affect your children more intensely than you realize. Okay, so right off the bat here, they're talking about how it's not good to isolate yourself. Friendships are essential to your health and stability. What they won't tell you is, one, if a Jehovah's Witness isolates themselves from their, quote, friends, it's because they don't trust them. You don't actually have real friendships in the organization. You have informants. That's just how a cult or a high control group works. And I'm not saying those individuals are bad people. They might be lovely people, have good intentions, but they're also trained to fall in line and make sure you fall in line. Okay? You can't say anything critical. You can't express any doubts, concerns, not even in private. You think you have a best friend you can confide in. You can't just, oops, I shared some doubts, concerns about the organization or something I've learned, but we've known each other for 30, 40. Doesn't matter. They will feel compelled to tell on you for your own good. That's what they're taught. So Jehovah's Witnesses, this whole thing about don't isolate yourself, make sure you maintain strong friendships, we're going to get more into that. Jehovah's Witnesses don't receive the actual, real encouragement that they need. Their friends are just checking up on them. Okay, so that's number one. And two, they are blatantly omitting the fact that if you do this, if you express dissent, if you're critical of the organization, no matter how respectful you present your argument, if you do this, you are shunned. They will see to it that you are isolated. Oh, the irony. They will see to it and make sure that you are isolated from all channels of support. And of course, you get people who break the rules and they sneak visits or be talked to family members here and there. They might get crap for it from the elders. And then their head is on the chopping block. But just the absolute irony and hypocrisy of this. They're liars. They are conveniently omitting how many lives they have ruined by isolating Jehovah's Witnesses, their own parishioners, by isolating Jehovah's Witnesses from their family and so-called friends. All right, then it says parents pay little to no attention to the anxieties of their children. What they're not telling you is that as Jehovah's Witnesses, the parents are facilitating the anxiety. Your kid is anxious, depressed, slitting their wrists. Maybe it's because they're gay, and they know they're not allowed to be gay in the Jehovah's Witnesses. They secretly don't believe. And they know they can't just say that to their parents. Hey, and maybe they're being bullied at school because they're that Jehovah's Witness weirdo who's not allowed to celebrate any holidays, can't hang out with friends after school, engage in any kind of extracurricular activities. Jehovah's Witness children, and I've said this before in many videos, they walk around with this sense of otherness. Shit, you don't shake that even as an adult, but especially as a child. You need to feel like you're part of a club. You have a group of kids that you can relate to. You don't have anything like that in the Jehovah's Witnesses. More on that. They feel like they don't belong. They don't feel like they have any real friends. They have these forced friendships at the Kingdom Hall, okay? They're stressed out. The kids are stressed because of you, mom and dad. Jehovah's Witness children are anxious because they're being raised in an environment based on conditional love. Even if they don't understand it cognitively. In their gut, they know they're being raised in an environment you have to be a Jehovah's Witness to earn love. Of course they're going to be anxious. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to this section over here, how to cope. Okay, strengthen your marriage. The Bible says two are better than one. If one of them fails, the other can help his partner up. Okay, marriage mates should act as a pilot and a co-pilot with the same flight plan, not as two fighter jets on a collision course. Okay, very clever. Okay, right, resolve that you will not take out your stress on each other. Patience and tolerance go a long way. All right, at least once a week. Discuss with your mate the situations that need to be addressed. Remember to target the problem, not each other. Make time to do things together that you both enjoy. Reminisce about good times that you've shared together, perhaps looking at your wedding photos or other pleasant memories. All right, this sounds like lovely, practical marriage advice. But again, what they're not telling you is that the church needs to stay the hell out of your marriage. All right, what they're not telling you, you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're in a miserable, God-forsaken marriage. Tough shit. All right, if you divorce and get remarried, the new couple could be happy, healthy, way better for each other, far more compatible. There's peace in the home. Doesn't matter. Their heads are on the chopping block. All right, no marriage is perfect, duh. But some marriages, Jehovah's Witnesses get married really young. Some marriages are a huge mistake. There's physical abuse, mental, emotional. It's just a shit show. Doesn't matter. And it's always the woman's fault, especially if she's married to an elder. What have you done to make him hit you? Let me be absolutely clear about this. They're not marriage counselors. They're not professionally trained. I don't know if people know that. All right, Jehovah's Witness elders are not qualified to give marital advice to a raccoon. And two, what they're not telling you, all this lovely, flowery, cozy marital advice, what they're not telling you is that if one spouse wakes up and realizes the organization is a cult, that it's not the truth, and that spouse dares to express themselves, maybe it's the husband who wakes up and expresses it to his wife or vice versa, and they criticize the organization, the leaders known as elders are going to do absolutely everything within their power to drive a wedge between husband and wife. They will do absolutely anything to drive a wedge between you and your spouse. And in this case, you could actually have a really loving marriage. Things could be good between the two of you. But because of this, they will attempt to turn your spouse against you. Okay, so the next section over here, maintain your friendships. In addition to receiving support from friends, think of ways you can give support. By strengthening others, you strengthen yourself. Reach out to a couple of friends each day to see how they're doing. Ask your friends how they've coped with challenges that are similar to the ones you are facing. And then we got another quote here by a lady named Nicole. When you face a storm of adversity, friends are like a point of reference. They can nudge you in the right direction. That's loaded. I'm going to talk about that in a second. They can nudge you in the right direction, even if it's just by reminding you of things that you already know. Friends care for you, and they know that you care for them. All right, again, this cannot be overstated. You don't have real friendships in the Jehovah's Witnesses. I've often described it this way, that Jehovah's Witnesses are like a bunch of toddlers that you plop in a sandbox. Oh, we're just friends now. Want to play? We're automatically friends. No, real friendships take time. Real friendships take time to develop, and you're not going to see eye to eye on every single issue. That's fake. So this whole image that they're trying to paint that you just have a bunch of, besties in Christ or besties in Jehovah is incredibly misleading. What I will say is this. If you all, a group of women, or I don't know, guys can leave their 2 cents, but I know for like a group of women, as long as you all fall in line, parroting the same watchtower rhetoric, you kind of just have the same hive mind, you probably will click and be friends. Those are usually the ones that congregate, that gather until you say something wrong. And they turn on you on a dime. I was surrounded by hundreds of people and I was extremely lonely. I didn't have any close friendships with girls my age. I got along way better with my classmates and coworkers, but couldn't go to, that's another thing. Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to hang out with friends from school. So it's not like I could go to their house and hang out with them. As a child, you're taught to keep worldly people at arm's length. Like, I knew this one girl. She feels like a complete utter stranger to me now. But our families were basically very close over the years. She's still in. I'm slightly older, but we basically grew up together. And then as adults, we lived like 5 minutes from each other, like a couple of blocks away. And I would have to find out. I would have to find out through the grapevine that she had a dinner party. And I'm like, and I wasn't invited. It's like, dude, this is so weird. Like, we were in diapers together, bitch. This is stupid. Like, I'm not allowed to be friends with, you see what I'm saying? I'm not allowed to be friends with, as a Jehovah's Witness, friends with girls at school, my coworkers. You're all I have and you suck. So yes, in theory, you should be able to have friends, make close friendships, have these close bonds, in your religious community. Other denominations achieve this. Not just achieve this, but it's authentic. In the Jehovah's Witnesses, you have to understand, you're only allowed to fish from this very small pond. But the thing is, you're not able to form authentic friendships because, again, there's always the underlying motive of conditional love. They're not loving you for who you really are. They just got to make sure that you check all these boxes. Are you obeying? Are you this? Are you that? Do you have this position? Do you hold this title? Okay. See, there's these markers of what makes you a good person and what makes you potentially a good friend. So that's another major factor that contributes to loneliness and isolation in the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not this kumbaya bullshit. Especially when it says here, I'm going to back up a little bit in the friendship section, when it says, they can nudge you, quoted by Nicole, they can nudge you in the right direction. What they really mean is keep you in line. That means keep you in the correct direction. And that's following the ideology and policies of the organization, making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to, that you're showing up, you're saying all the right things, or else they will drop you, they will turn on you on a dime. Okay, and so this final section, be a supportive parent. Bible says, be quick to listen, slow to speak. Initially, your children may be reluctant to express their fears and concerns, but by patiently listening, you will help them to open up. Create an environment that makes it comfortable for children to express themselves. Some children talk more readily while relaxed, such as when riding in the car or walking, rather than when sitting with a parent face to face. Make sure that your children are not overexposed to disturbing news reports. Fair enough. Talk to your children and allow them to express how they might feel. They might be hiding their fear, anxiety, or anger. Let them know that you struggle with the same feelings and tell them how you've dealt with such feelings. All right, you got the wrong Bethany. I don't know this bitch. Okay, I talk about this extensively in my book. It's not a matter of, Mom and Dad, you're such terrible people. My parents were great. If you took the organization out of the equation, see, this is a setup. I couldn't just tell my parents, hey, I hate being a witness. I'm miserable. I'm not happy here. I'm really stressed out. I'm lonely. I don't actually believe in this. I love you. I love you as my parents. I just don't want to be this thing. Can't say that. You can't just express yourself and be honest and pour your heart out to your parents. This is total gaslighting to young people, to children. Parental love in the Jehovah's Witnesses always comes with strings attached. Jehovah's Witness parents are never going to give you their blessing to leave because they can't leave. And I mean, that's precisely what happened with me. The day that I stood my ground and left the organization, their indoctrination just kicked into overdrive and that was it. And then overnight, I was the enemy. So parental love in the Jehovah's Witnesses is completely conditional and illusory. Yeah, articles like this one are extremely misleading. It's pure gaslighting. You're taking me for stupid. It's extremely insulting to shunning victims, the countless people that they've managed to cut off from their families. And frankly, it also insults the intelligence of people who are still in. And they know in their gut. They know better. Even if they're still in, they know this is BS. That the insider culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses. See, this is a very glossy, shiny, rosy PR front. Even they know that the insider culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses is very different from what they present to the public to try to curry favor with the public and try to repair their image with the public because the public is hip to them. They don't want any of that. I love my daughter. I'm not shunning her. I love my son. No way in hell I'm going to shun my child or my parent or my cousin or brother or whatever. Who in their right mind would sign up for that? They're not going to tell you that at the door. So, if you have like a neighbor who's a witness and they try to make nicey chit chat with you while you're drinking your coffee out on your lawn, or maybe you have a family member who's like, oh, this is a wonderful article I want to share with you. Your Jehovah's Witness auntie who's always bringing you the magazines and inviting you to the Kingdom Hall. I'm not saying they're bad people. Not saying that they don't have good intentions. Take it from a former member of 30 years. Jehovah's Witnesses are some of the worst offenders in splitting up families based solely on ideological differences. Like we can't agree to disagree and we still love each other. It's not possible in the Jehovah's Witnesses. You need to understand that. And they are in no position to be lecturing the general public about how to strengthen the family bond. So Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about the inner workings of the Jehovah's Witnesses from a former member of 30 years, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.